Good morning or afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're going to give it just another minute here before we get started. Just see a few people filing in. All right, perfect. Let's get started. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining me today for our monthly webinar, this one on use CRM to populate Laserfiche documents. My name is Laura Froyam. I'm an account executive here at CDI, and I'm really excited to show you this webinar today. Few housekeeping items. Everybody will be muted. If you've got questions, go ahead and type them into the questions box. I will address them at the end of my presentation. So feel free to type them in as they come up. Slides and screenshots are available upon request, and then the webinar will be recorded and available through our YouTube site. So if you're familiar with that YouTube site, go ahead and check that out, and then this will be available in the next couple of days. Additionally, I did include a few handouts for this month's session, so definitely take a minute to download some of those, a couple of brochures on our integrations, as well as one of my favorite getting started guides with Laserfiche workflow, and some contract management and just miscellaneous information. So if any of that appeals to you, go ahead and download it. Today's agenda, we are going to be walking through the software components required for building out this automation within Laserfiche. We're going to jump into a demo, walk through it, and then go through resources and any questions at the end. So diving right in, today as we go through the presentation and the demo, we are going to be focusing on a self-hosted environment of Laserfiche. So this includes United, Rio, Avante, or subscription-based platforms of Laserfiche, self-hosted with workflow. So if you are on Rio, Avante, or subscription, you definitely have workflow. If you're on United, it's possible that you don't, and it would have been an add-on to your system. Of course, if you're not sure, please feel free to reach out to the CDI team. We are here to help you understand what you need and have. So workflow is a requirement, as well as a CRM, because we are going to be pushing and pulling information to and from that CRM. Additionally, we are making use of the CDI CRM integration with Salesforce. So if you are using any of the CRMs on this screen or some of the others that maybe aren't listed on this screen, and you are interested in seeing if we can accommodate the same type of functionality, just please reach out, let us know. But otherwise, any of these CRMs, we have the ability to build out this exact process with. Additionally, Laserfiche Connector, if that's something that you have, a Laserfiche feature add-on that your team has, some of this functionality can be accomplished with Laserfiche Connector as well. So if you don't have a CRM, that's okay. Optionally, you can just use any database or data source that allows for an ODBC connection, and that's just an outsized database connection. So CRMs have a back end which has all of the data in your user-friendly interface, just in tables of information. And those tables of information are what we are pulling from to generate and populate Laserfiche documentation. So again, if you're maybe not using a CRM, but you're using an application like Acela or a finance software like BC Dynamics or ArcGIS, any number of applications that allow for an ODBC will help you achieve this same type of functionality as well. So again, it doesn't have to be a CRM, any database or connection works. You can also use just a SQL table or even an Excel file with some caveats with that. So Laserfiche Cloud, I know, is growing in popularity as well. Again, today's demo is going to focus on the self-hosted system, but you can achieve similar functionality within a cloud environment. So you would just need a cloud environment that has process automation included, as well as one of the CRM integrations that Laserfiche has out of the box, or again, Laserfiche Connector. Laserfiche Connector is that quick one-to-one application integration utility that involves no-code integration connections to your favorite applications. So today's demo, I am going to be using a self-hosted Avante system on version 10.4.1, as well as the CDI Salesforce integration and the CDI DocuSign integration. So you can see the whole solution, from start to finish. So what we're going to do, and some of the new features that we have available to show today are from within your CRM, you can click a link or click a button to kick off a Laserfiche process. So this is a screenshot from our Salesforce, and we'll see this live. But right now we have this field here that was customized by our team. So we added this field, engagement letter, click to create. So if you click to create it, then what happens is workflow behind the scenes generates all the documentation, sends it out via DocuSign. Once it's signed, it comes back in, and then that field updates to the 2023 client engagement letter. And now you can select that link and it will open up that most recent engagement letter for you. So you don't have to dig through the folders to try and find the specific documents that you might call on regularly. So what's kind of happening behind the scenes with this? Well, once we click that Laserfiche button or that URL link from within the CRM, it's actually creating a Laserfiche form. This form is auto-submitting, so I don't actually have to click submit, but this is just kind of what it shows. Instead of it showing the Laserfiche form, you can customize that splash page that says something like, hey, your document's being generated, something like that. But our demo process just has the form, so we can take a look at what it looks like. So we have a document type here called non-disclosure agreement, but we are going to show an engagement letter and the non-disclosure agreement updates today. So again, we're going to be in our CRM application, clicking a button in our CRM application that kicks off activities within Laserfiche and generates everything within Laserfiche by pulling information from our CRM to populate our fillable documents and then routing it for signature. So here's just a quick look at the workflow. Again, within my demo environment, my team is very sensitive about who has access to what. So I've got just a couple of screenshots here that we can take a look at. So again, it's initiating by kicking off a Laserfiche forms process that auto submits. And so workflow is retrieving the business process values from the forms process, querying the account data in Salesforce, creating the document in Laserfiche, updating and generating the URL in our CRM, and then it's doing some conditional routing. So was it an engagement letter that was initiated, or was it a non-disclosure that was initiated? Populating those documents, sending it out via DocuSign again, retrieving some additional field values, and in working our client files auto-file document workflow, which again will auto-file the document into the appropriate client folder and apply all the metadata and rename the document according to our standards. So here's just a quick peek at what that workflow looks like. Or no, I'm sorry, this is the workflow for DocuSign. So once a document is sent out of Laserfiche, and if you are using the CDI DocuSign integration, here's just an example of what your auto-file workflow could look like. So retrieving the information back from DocuSign. So we're pulling that DocuSign ID that gets assigned to every one of your envelopes that goes out, pulling back that information. If we've found results, then we're going to send the signed document for processing, download the PDF, and then auto-file, of course, from there. So let's take a look at it. Now, I'm going to show you the new features, but I wanted to show you from start to finish what this process could look like within your CRM. So we're going to start with a client onboarding questionnaire. So you don't have to have your process start like this, but this client questionnaire is going to create the CRM contact for us if they hadn't existed already, create some standardized documentation, all that good stuff. And then we'll take a look at the CRM and generate our other documents from there. So I want to start with a quick poll. So sometimes I like to put some extra thought into my examples. So I rolled out, who has watched Game of Thrones? I sometimes feel like I'm the only person on earth who hasn't watched it, just because I never had HBO. But the reason I ask this is because Sophie Turner, a Game of Thrones cast member, it's her birthday today, and we are going to be onboarding her and generating documentation for her today. All right. So this was new, exciting for me to see. I'm not the only one on Earth who hasn't seen it. Only 36% of you have seen it. 64 haven't, so I'm glad I'm with the majority. All right. So jumping back in. All right. So again, we're going to start with the financial client questionnaire. So I'm going to click this questionnaire. This is a Laserfiche forms process that, again, you could send to your client for submission via Forms Portal. And Forms Portal is what allows you to make your forms publicly accessible. So people outside of your organization can submit information to you, and then we can leverage workflow and everything to do what we need from there. So Sophie Turner. We're going to type in some address information. We can collect information on her assets, her liabilities. Again, if you haven't seen this form before, this demo, or you're not really familiar with forms, forms can dynamically change with you. So as you fill out information, I don't know if you saw this graph here kind of calculate, or this pie chart calculate for us, but it can calculate totals, it can create graphs, and then all of this information you can use to create documentation as you go along. You can do long range fields of information, which means you can just collect paragraphs of information. We can integrate with other websites right within your forms to query or push in information. Then you can do things as simple as like radio boxes or radio buttons or check boxes. And again, as you fill it out, like if we were to select attorney, we could have a box that pops up and says, who's your attorney? So again, it's dynamically changing and updating with you. You can also require uploads on forms. So if you need to collect forms of identification or W-2s or whatever you might need as part of your process, you can have documents attached to your forms submissions as well. So we're going to go ahead and just click submit, and this is going to kick off an approval process for this new client. So this is the Laserfiche forms task box. Again, if you're not familiar with this, Laserfiche forms can be used for collecting information, but it's also really great for task management because it plops everything in a really user-friendly interface like this. So I can see all of the different tasks that I need to take action on. Tasks can be assigned to individual users. They can be assigned to teams of users. So again, depending on what your flow is or what it needs to be, Laserfiche has the capabilities to help you achieve that. So I'm going to go ahead and just click my task. Something else I want to point out is you can also have email notifications go out. So again, if you don't want to worry about going into a task box because you get tasks so infrequently assigned, you can have email notifications go out and you can customize what they say. So I could have clicked this link and it would have brought me directly to my task. The ability to customize what your task looks like. Here we are just carrying through the original submission, so compliance has the chance to go ahead and review all of the information, make adjustments, changes as needed. We can approve, reject, when we can set this up in whatever flow you might need. You also have the ability to see the action history. So if there were multiple approval steps within this process, you could see the action history and who's done what and when. So we're just going to go ahead and approve this. And that is going to kick off multiple things. It's going to create the client folder structure for us within Laserfiche. It's going to create the contact for us within our Salesforce CRM. And it's going to generate a bunch of standardized documentation for us for our processes. Oh, and it's going to send out a DocuSign envelope, which I'm going to skip because we're going to look at that in a couple of our other processes. So if I go back, we're going to log into the web client. My demo environment got a little bit switched around, so I have to add in this HTTPS for my edge and go in there. But normally you will not have to do that. So now I'm logged into our repository, and if I go into financial services, we can see our client files, and today created at 1:16 Central Time is our new folder for Sophie Turner. And if we open it up, we've got our standardized subfolder structure. So again, whatever your subfolder structure is, we can customize that. Now, I know we have a lot of government-based clients, cities, municipalities on our call today. And so this same type of functionality can be achieved by, potentially integrating with your ArcGIS program or your finance software, or again, a number of other applications. So depending on what your flow is and what you need it to be, this is just one example within Laserfiche. So if we go into the financial planning folder, I am just going to preview the document here in the web client of Laserfiche. So this is what that form submission looked like without any customizations to it. Just looks just like how it did online. If I go into the correspondence folder, we can see we've got an outgoing engagement letter. If I show the preview, oh, it's not going to show me the preview, but I could go ahead and click that document and open it up and download it and make changes to this engagement letter. I'm not going to do that right now. But again, Laserfiche is generating and populating these Word documents for us. So now if I go into Salesforce, let me just get logged in here. Let's try that one more time. Oh my gosh. All right. Thankfully, that worked. So now if we click on our accounts, we'll be able to see that a new recent record was created for Sophie Turner. So I'm going to go ahead and select it. And if you haven't seen our CRM integration before, you're going to get a good overview now as well. So one side of our integration can take information from Laserfiche and push it into the CRM to update the CRM. So we can update any field within your CRM. Again, if it's Salesforce, Tamarack, Wealthbox, any of those that are either built on top of Salesforce or built on top of Microsoft Dynamics CRM, we have the ability to create and update this functionality. So pushing information from Laserfiche to create the account for us. And then you can also view the documents archived in Laserfiche from within your Salesforce. So I'm just going to get signed into my Laserfiche application here. And something I want to point out too, so now I'm logged into the repository and the view brings me directly to my client record within Laserfiche. So I don't have to open up Laserfiche separately, navigate to that folder structure. It drops me right onto that account. And then I can peruse through the folders. Anything that I could do in the web client is what I can do right here from within my Salesforce screen. So up here, again, some of the new functionality that I have to show to you today is this: what happens if we don't want to initiate things from Laserfiche? We want to initiate things from our other application or our CRM because that's where our team members are used to working out of. Well, you can do that now. So here again, we created this custom field for client engagement letter. And right now it says click to create. So if I go ahead and click that, it's kicking off that process that I had described to you before. It's bringing up this forms process and auto submitting it. So I didn't click submit, it's just auto submitting it. Again, you can customize what that splash page looks like if you don't want it to be confusing for your users. And then what's happening is it's taking the information from the CRM and generating a client engagement letter for us to sign. So I just received this DocuSign client engagement letter at 1:23. So right now for me, I'm going to go ahead and review the document. We're going to go ahead and agree to sign off on this. So as I scroll down, this is our standard client engagement letter. Anything in this kind of orangey reddish color is what we pulled from the CRM, not just from Laserfiche, but from the CRM to populate the document for us. And then it will just walk us through the signing. And we can adopt, sign, finish it out. So then what is going to happen from here is that signed document is going to flow back into Laserfiche once the integration grabs it. It does take a moment. And now if I refresh my CRM, we'll be able to see that our two applications are kept in sync. So now instead of create the new client engagement letter, we have the 2023 engagement letter. This is something that our team is accessing frequently, so I'm going to go ahead and just click it, and then it's going to open the client engagement letter directly for us. Again, it's a Word document here in this instance, so I can download it. I'm not going to do that. And again, once the signed PDF version comes in, it will automatically update this to the latest and greatest. And so depending on how you have your workflow built out behind the scenes and what you want this link in your CRM to show, we can say, hey, anything that is called a client engagement letter, we want you to display the latest version of it. So whatever came into the Laserfiche most recently, link and make available here through our CRM. So your workflow can dynamically do that and update the CRM for you. So instead of having a field here in the field area, you have a button, which I think is pretty cool. So we're going to go ahead and click this button, generate NDA, and it's going to do the same thing. It's going to bring up that kind of forms splash page that's auto submitting. And then again, because I'm in a demo environment, it's bringing me directly to my task for review. So if I want, let's just actually log out of there. So if I go into my forms inbox, we can see here that I have a new compliance document, non-disclosure to review. Well, hopefully you all saw it prior to my closing out of the original task submission. But compliance would have the ability to review the document, and they would be able to see a copy of the document right here in the screen. So if they needed to make edits or something like that, they could go ahead and download and make edits, or just review it to make sure everything looks good. They can go ahead and accept, deny. So again, your forms process can be set up however you might need it to be set up. We're just going to go ahead and accept it. And again, as part of that process, it's going to kick off a DocuSign signature process for us. So we have this non-disclosure agreement. I can go ahead and review the document as the client. So here is our standard non-disclosure agreement. That information from the CRM was used to populate this document. Just going to walk through and sign it. Title. Whoop. No, I don't want to download a copy. And then again, eventually this NDA will come back into the Laserfiche repository, the signed copy, and we'll be able to see it. So here's our engagement letters. If I go into compliance, here is that non-disclosure agreement as well. I would be really skeptical if this was the signed copy already. Yeah, no, it's not the signed copy because the DocuSign integration takes a few minutes for it to actually pull back and come into the system. But it will pull back and come into the system and replace this version for us automatically. So again, using information within our CRM to populate documents that get generated in Laserfiche by workflow, and then taking it that next step further and sending it out automatically through DocuSign. To identify who the recipients are of the document, Laserfiche can again query your CRM or your database to pull in the recipient information, push it into the DocuSign template information within the DocuSign application, send out that envelope, and then again, once it's all complete, it goes back into your Laserfiche repository, auto files, or kicks off a notification, whatever you might want it to be. So if we jump back into our PowerPoint, again, I like to point out some of the resources that we have available. So if you're a CDI client, you can get into our client portal, and then you can sign up for any of our free training Tuesdays, any of our other upcoming webinars. You can also find our webinars through our CDI.support website, so definitely take advantage of that. And if you're interested in having something like this configured to your environment and your team and your CRM, please just reach out, let us know. Here's some of the Laserfiche resources that are available. Again, these getting started guides, I can't rave about them enough. I did attach one in the handouts area for you. So now I see that we have a couple questions, so I'm going to jump over to the questions box. All right, so we've got a question. Does the CRM Advisors Engine Juncture work with these workflows, like the repository previewer? Within Juncture, it's been a while since I have had to do anything with Juncture. So we are integrated with Juncture in that you can, when you're within Juncture, if you're on a client record that doesn't have a standardized folder structure right now, you can engage the integration, which will create the client folder structure for you automatically. And then at that time, if you wanted to create any documentation, we can set up the workflows to create any standardized documentation. But that's only if it's being generated into Laserfiche for the first time. Additionally, it's either an embedded iframe like what I showed with Salesforce, or it's just a button that you click that opens the Laserfiche web access pane or the web viewer in a separate tab in your CRM. As far as I know, the Juncture integration does not allow for the additional two-way compatibility. We can create a URL and put that into Juncture so that it searches your Laserfiche repository based on some information and token information, but it's not quite the same two-way connection as what I showed with the Salesforce and as it would be with Microsoft Dynamics CRM. Hopefully that made sense. In the Salesforce Laserfiche repository previewer, can you drag files out to an email or desktop? Or is it opening the file in the repository in the document preview only? How would you edit it? So if you're in Salesforce, let me see if I can just pull that up again. It works just like the web client. And so when you're in Salesforce, if we go back to an account, and you want to get something out of Laserfiche, you would have to click the download button. You can't drag out of the web client to some other application. You can drag out of the desktop client to some other application, but not from the web client. So if we go into compliance, we find our document, you would have to click the download button, save it to your computer, and then you could attach it to an email. So if you find yourself doing a lot of taking out of Laserfiche and pushing somewhere else, I would recommend using the Laserfiche desktop client because that makes that drag and drop process a lot easier. All right. Doesn't look like we have any other additional questions at this time. So if I jump back in, again, I want to thank everybody for your time today. Hopefully you thought this updated, client demo experience was as exciting as I definitely think it is. If you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out. CDI, we are here to help you with any solutions, ideas, thoughts you've got. So definitely lean in on that and have a great rest of your day. Thanks, everyone.